host, The Stephen A. Smith Show, starts right now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio and ESPN News. 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listing nearest you, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio. Simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Got a lot of stuff to get into today. No doubt the first order of business is the Philadelphia 76ers trolloping the Toronto Raptors last night in the Eastern Conference Semifinals Game 3 at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 116-95. Philadelphia started the fourth quarter on a 21-3 run, ultimately blew Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors out of the building. I should say Kawhi Leonard out of the building because he was the only one that showed up. The Toronto Raptors did not. He had 33 points on 13-22 shooting. That's 59% from the field, ladies and gentlemen. He's averaging more than 33 in this series. By the way, he hit 2 of his 4 3-point shots. He was obviously unstoppable for the most part, but had absolutely positively no help. And that's something that we will discuss as the series progresses, because I thought that the Toronto Raptors would win this series. And the reason I thought that they would win this series is because I'm looking at the health of Joel Embiid. Clearly that left knee had him hobbled. Game 2, he had stomach issues. Damn it, it was diarrhea. Let's just get it out the way. I mean, we got to be so politically correct all the time. The man had the runs, okay? That's what he had. That's what he had. I know it's not popular to say. I know people say that, ooh, do we really need to go there? Get over it. We've all had it, okay? Joel Embiid had the runs. He had diarrhea, all right? Watching people on TV having a camera. Oh, he had a stomach issue. What, y'all ain't have diarrhea before? Y'all don't know what it is? You eat the wrong kind of foods. You end up having to go to the toilet. I'm just thankful he didn't have to go to the toilet while he was on the court, okay? But that was his issue in Game 2. Clearly wasn't an issue for him in Game 3. He finished with 33 points, 10 rebounds, 5 blocks. He was absolutely spectacular throughout the evening. By the way, hit 3 of his 4 3-point shots. What can you say? When Joel Embiid looks like that, the Philadelphia 76ers could win the Eastern Conference, despite their questionable bench. When you look at their bench right now, what are you looking at? James Ennis III did give you 24 minutes and 10 points. Greg Monroe did give you 14 minutes. Mike Scott did give you 13 minutes. TJ McConnell could come off the bench and give you about 10 minutes a game, although he only gave you 5 last night. When you look at the Philadelphia 76ers potentially being able to go 8-9 deep, I thought that Toronto had a better bench. When you look at Ibaka, Van Vliet, Powell, I mean, you look at the Toronto Raptors and one would think they were the team with the bench. They clearly had the superstar that is Kawhi Leonard, who's a champion and an NBA Finals MVP. That's what he had on his resume. You look at Siakam, my most improved player of the year, and what he did the first 2 games. And you're looking at this and you're saying, how can Philadelphia, devoid of a bench with an injured Joel Embiid, win this series? Well, guess what? Evidently, Joel Embiid, his health seems to be getting a little better. And because of that, I think now is the time to have this discussion as to whether or not the chances have improved exponentially for the Philadelphia 76ers to capture the Eastern Conference crown. Now, I am one that has religiously pointed to Boston being their kryptonite because it's undoubtedly so. When you look at how they played against Boston during the regular season, how they played against Boston last year, how Brad Stevens outcoached Brett Brown last season. But if you look at this Philadelphia 76ers squad with the acquisition of Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris, now it's time to make a different kind of argument. because Jimmy Butler is your backup point guard. And unlike Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler can run the point, make decisions, but more importantly, he's got a perimeter shot that Ben Simmons won't even attempt. So when you look at it from that perspective, all of a sudden, it makes Philadelphia that much more formidable, particularly with a healthy Joel Embiid, and we can't ignore the possibility of the Philadelphia 76ers coming out of the Eastern Conference Finals, and getting to the NBA Finals. So we got that out the way. And now we also want to get into a discussion. Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy calling the game with Mike Breen last night got into a very, very entertaining argument when Mark Jackson, my brother from another mother, my man, Queens, New York, O'Connell Park, right up the block from where I grew up living in Hollis, Queens. That Mark Jackson, who starred at St. John's, who was the Rookie of the Year in the NBA for the New York Knicks. That Mark Jackson, who was a coach that basically started the foundation that we now witness in the Golden State Warriors, who should still be a head coach in the NBA right now. Who, by the way, should have been interviewed for the Lakers job. That Mark Jackson, who, by the way, lives in LA. That Mark Jackson went on the air last night and said a couple of things about Joel Embiid that, dare I say, got the one and only Jeff Van Gundy up in a little tizzy. Listen to this exchange between Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy during Game 3 of last night's Philadelphia 76ers Toronto Raptors game. Listen to this.
It will be a crime if he leaves this game, barring any injury, not being compared to the best big man that's ever played this game. He's got to be in that discussion.
Hold on. Pump the brakes. No, pump your brakes. Are you? No. We're not going to do that to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Will Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing. Pump your brakes. Man, you talk about Greg Popovich just rolled over in bed. You just skipped steps right now. You skipped steps. Well, we'll see.
You might see. I see.
Shaquille O'Neal is rolling over in his king-size waterbed right now.
No, those guys that you mentioned, they're looking at it like, Mark Jackson has a point. There's no disrespect to them. It's a compliment to this guy's skill level.
Let me put this argument, encapsulate this argument, and break it down to you this way. Joel Embiid is something special. He's absolutely, positively something special. When he is on the court, he is a load to behold. At 7 feet 1, about 260 pounds, Joel Embiid, just 25 years of age, is unstoppable. He can put the ball on the floor. He's improved playing with his back to the basket. He clearly can do damage facing the basket. He can hit three-point shots. He can score inside or out. He defends. He blocks shots. He is something special. There's nothing to talk about there. But here's where Mark Jackson has a problem. And it's most of you whippersnappers out there that have this problem. Y'all want to ignore resumes. I don't. Joel Embiid was the number 3 overall pick in the 2014 NBA draft. If you recall, he didn't go number 1. That was Andrew Wiggins. He didn't go number 2. That was Jabari Parker. He went number 3. He would have easily gone number 1 if he didn't come out of college, out of Kansas, with those foot injuries. We all understand that. We get that. And in his career, he's a career 24-point per game scorer, 11 rebounds. A career 48% shooter from the field, a 31% shooter from three-point range, a 78% shooter from the free throw line. This year, those numbers are 27 and 13. 48% shooting from the field, 30% shooting from three-point range, 80% shooting from the free throw line. We know what Joel Embiid brings to the table when healthy. But what Jeff Van Gundy was talking about is something that I side with more than Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson didn't question the skill set. That's what he was alluding to, and I get it. My point is, I want to talk about your resume. I want to talk about the first year that Joel Embiid played was 2 years later. He got drafted in 2014. He didn't play until 2016. There's 82 games in a regular season schedule. That year, he only played 31 games. Then in 2017, 2018, he missed another 19 games, played 63. This year, he missed another 18 games. Okay? And we know what he does in the postseason because we know what he did last year. When you look at him in the postseason, last year he averaged 21 and 12 in the postseason in 8 playoff games. This year he's at 22.9 with 11 rebounds. We get what he brings to the table. But we need a resume. When you talk about Shaq and Kareem and Wilt, Olajuwon, guys like that, you know what? In Shaq's first couple of years in the NBA, did you know that Shaq's second season, Shaq averaged 29 and 13? Did you know that both his rookie and his second year in the league, Shaq played 81 of 82 games? Did you know that? Did you know that when Shaq never even attempted a three-point shot his first couple of years in the NBA? Shaq was a man amongst boys. His stepdad, DeSarge, God rest his wonderful soul, used to sit up there and talk about Shaquille O'Neal. Don't let me smack you upside your head. Take your behind, and those are not the words he used. I knew DeSarge, and I loved him dearly. I still miss him. That man sat up there and told Shaq to get his big, you know what, down in the hole, drop, step, swing those elbows, and punish anybody that would get in your way. You're 7'1", 350 pounds. Damn it, act like it. I would know. Shaquille O'Neal would tell you, DeSarge almost slapped me up my damn head because he thought I was letting Shaq off the hook. I was too kind. I said, sir, the man is averaging better than 25 and 12 a game. He's punishing people, hospitalizing them for crying out loud when they try to defend him in the post. What are you talking about? Steven, I want more. You're letting him off the hook. I mean, it was so bad with Shaquille O'Neal, Mama Shaq got on me and said, I'm very, very upset with you. You're being too nice and kind to my son. We have expectations for him. Handle it. Be a man. Ask Shaq if you don't believe me. And Joel Embiid, who is big time, elite in everywhere, but somewhat of a pretty boy comedian from Cameroon. This guy takes the basketball up until this year. What did he do? He takes the basketball, pivots and spins, face the basket because he didn't want to play with his back to the basket. He wanted to be a perimeter player. He wanted to be a finesse player. I'm sorry. That's not going to win you championships in Philadelphia. You got to be a man amongst boys. You got to drop, step, and dominate in the low post the way that he did at the beginning of last night's Game 3 against the Toronto Raptors. This is what is required of Joel Embiid. Nobody can mess with him in the low post. He is supposed to abuse them. Period. Period. And until there's a willingness to do that on a regular basis, with the degree of frequency it requires, let's pump the brakes on talking about him in the same sentence as premier big men who've ever played this game. We're not questioning the skill set. Mark Jackson's not wrong. The skill sets are not to be questioned. What he brings to the table is not to be questioned. We got that. We understand it. Nobody's disputing that. What we're saying is that's not enough. It's not enough to have the skills. You got to utilize them. And he's starting to do that. And from a skill perspective, he's comparable to anybody. But resume matters. Resume matters. And when we get away from resumes, we get ourselves into trouble. Because now we're talking about potential instead of reality and fruition. That's what we're doing here. And I don't think you need to do that if you're trying to win a championship. And that is the situation when it comes to Joel Embiid. So we look at the Philadelphia 76ers. Toronto Raptors in a world of trouble. They better win Game 4. Because they ain't coming back to Philadelphia and winning Game 6. They might win Game 5 back in Canada. They ain't coming back to Philly to win Game 6. I'm telling y'all what I know. They're not doing it. They will not win Game 6 in Philadelphia. If they lose Game 4, Philadelphia wins this series in Game 6. And I'm shocked because I thought that the Philadelphia 76ers could potentially, I didn't predict they'd get swept, but I thought that the potential was there because of the lack of depth and the injury to Joel Embiid. I didn't think Joel Embiid would be able to come out there and play like he did last night on one bum leg. I didn't see that coming. And as the show progresses, we might need to discuss Masai Ujiri and his decision to let go of DeMar DeRozan in favor of Kawhi Leonard. Clearly, Kawhi Leonard is an upgrade, but would it have been worth trading DeMar DeRozan if you only get Kawhi for one season and you get bounced out in the semifinals of the Eastern Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, that's bad. That's very, very, very bad for Masai Ujiri and the Toronto Raptors. If you don't get out of this round and you lose Kawhi Leonard this offseason, you've eviscerated your franchise. Because say what you will about DeMar DeRozan and Valanciunas, but guess what? They did win 59 games in a regular season, and had they not run in to LeBron James, who's been their kryptonite for years, last year, Dwayne Casey would still be the coach. They probably would have advanced to the conference finals, if not the finals, and nobody would have been bothered. But because you lost to LeBron and you got swept, DeMar DeRozan got moved, who never wanted to leave Canada. Loved Canada, loved Toronto. He didn't want to leave, but he would have still been there. Valanciunas likely would have been there. And who knows what we'd be talking about. This has the potential to be absolutely, positively disastrous for Masai Ujiri and the Toronto Raptors if they lose this series and Kawhi leaves in free agency. I can't think of anything that could be worse for them. I really, really can't. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Let me tell you this. Let me switch to a different subject. A couple of things. Ladies and gentlemen, I sit here a bit perturbed because D'Angelo Russell for the Brooklyn Nets got caught at LaGuardia Airport. And I don't know how many of you know the story, so let me enlighten you about it, okay? Let me let you know what's going on. D'Angelo Russell, the point guard, the all-star point guard for the Brooklyn Nets, formerly of the Los Angeles Lakers, all right? Before he got traded after ruining Swaggy P, Nick Young's relationship with Ziggy Azalea by taping him in a very incriminating fashion. And we'll leave it at that. He gets traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Ladies and gentlemen, he has an all-star season averaging 21-7 a game. He's actually a really good guy. But he got himself in some trouble. Because en route to Louisville, Kentucky, the report says where his father lives, but you ain't going to Louisville, Kentucky this weekend unless you're going to the Kentucky Derby. Let's just call it what it is, okay? This dude gets cited for marijuana possession after being detained Wednesday at New York's LaGuardia Airport following a baggage check. The spokesman said Russell was summoned for possession of less than 50 grams of marijuana and later released. Oh, it gets better. And let me give all the credit in the world to my contemporary, my colleague at ESPN, Mr. Will Kane, because as much as I went off, Will Kane actually pointed out something very valid, if it were true. The marijuana was found inside a hidden compartment of an Arizona iced tea can. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know that you're not allowed to take liquids through security? So in trying to hide weed, marijuana, D'Angelo Russell put it in a container that wasn't allowed to be going through security. You can't make this up. You can't make it up. When you go through airport security, it tells you you can't have any liquid items. So he put the marijuana inside of a can. You can't make it up. You just can't make it up. The level of idiocy that gets tacked to that. I mean, if there ever was a case for not being able, for marijuana to be prohibited towards the modern day athlete, this is it. This is it right there. It shows how the brain is camouflaged or compromised rather. It just shows how do you take weed and put it in a can that ain't allowed through security. You can't. Will Kane, I got to give him credit for that, because I didn't even think about that. I'm here thinking he checked in his bags. They looked at the bag. They found something, like whatever the case may be. That's what I was thinking, because it said after a baggage check. Oh, no. Apparently, this dude tried to go through security and put the weed in the can. I mean, what do you say? What do you say? I know everybody's looking for me to say, stay off the weed. I know that. That part about it was funny. Here's what's not funny. You're about to be a restricted free agent. You're in a position to potentially get money from another team. Or have Brooklyn match a potential offer you receive from the other team since you're restricted and they have the right to match. You have an all-star season. That's what everybody's talking about because of the season that you had. The Brooklyn Nets applauded your leadership, the fact that you came back in shape with condition. I've always hated your hairdo, but that's neither here nor there. All right? So you got this going on, and what do? You can't get some weed from Kentucky. You can't sit up there and have it in your bag and get it after you land in Kentucky. Oh, no. What you do is you try to get some weed through airport security. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have patience for this. I just don't. I have no patience for this whatsoever. I understand and I'm supportive of the Al Harringtons of the world and other athletes who have gotten in the cannabis business. It's profitable. They support it and are advocates of it, particularly for medicinal purposes. And obviously half the states in our country agree with that. I have no issue with that. And in all seriousness, let me be very, very clear. My mother, God rest her wonderful soul, passed away from cancer the morning of Game 1 of the NBA Finals back in 2017. And I strongly considered and to this day wish that I had introduced cannabis to her. Anything for her to be here today. But I got news for you. That's for medicinal purposes, which I completely and totally support. But for recreational use by the modern day athlete, so you can quell your nerves and emotions, or in some cases come on the court or field to play high? Hell no. I don't support that at all. I don't give a damn what state support it. I don't give a damn that it's legalized. The fact of the matter is, if the leagues prohibit it, if you can't pass up using weed during the season, thereby potentially jeopardizing millions of dollars, as some NFL athletes have done, you ain't a fool, you're a new fool. And I have no sympathy for you whatsoever. Now, D'Angelo Russell's not going to be compromised. He's going to get his money. But what does it say about you after the all-star season you had, approaching free agency as a restricted free agent, that you can't display the discipline necessary, if not to just stay off the weed, at least use it in your home and call it a day? You couldn't even do that. It's a damn shame. And I'm supposed to entrust you with my franchise? Please. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. I potentially may have some news about the Los Angeles Lakers and their coaching situation in just a few minutes. I'll be discussing that, plus playoff action, plus this D'Angelo Russell faux pas. The list goes on and on. Plus, remember, we got to preview the Warriors and Rockets Game 3 Saturday night in H-Town, which is where I'm at right now and why I'm in H-Town as we speak. So stick around, don't touch that dial. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show. ESPN Radio, that was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. By the way, right now, when you get ahead of Mother's Day rush, 1-800-Flowers is giving you an exclusive 24 for 24 offer. 24 multicolored roses for $24. Don't put this off. Order today. To order 24 stunning multicolored roses for $24, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code Stephen A. That's 1-800-Flowers.com, code Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V. Hurry up. This fantastic offer expires today. This show and all of ESPN is streaming live on the ESPN app. Now with ESPN Plus, where you get more ESPN. Download the ESPN app today and take ESPN everywhere.
Wake up. There's a lot that needs to get done today. Small things, big things, too hard to do alone things. Day after day, you need to get it all done. And here to listen and help you through it all is Bank of America. with the expertise and know-how you need to reach that blissful state of doneness. So let's